So today in section 4.2, we are going to graph quadratic functions using vertex form. And at the end of vertex form, I'm going to show you an example of intercept form. And to me, if you graph a parabola in vertex form, if it's already in vertex form, it's actually a little bit quicker because vertex form is written so that you can quickly identify the vertex. Now, when it's in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, we have to come up with the axis of symmetry using negative b over 2a and plug that in to get the vertex, right? That's what we did yesterday to graph. But if it's in vertex form, it looks like this. You have a number in front of parentheses, or if your a term is 1, you won't have anything there. And then you have x minus an h squared plus k. So if you have something in vertex form, you can quickly look at it and tell what the vertex is because you're going to change the sign of the h to get the x, to get your x value of the vertex, and your k is going to be your y value of the vertex. So if we have an equation, a quadratic equation that's already written in this form, you take the h number, the number in the h spot, change the sign, and that's your x value for your vertex. The k value is the y value. So you change what's in the parentheses to get your x. You keep the number on the end, that's your y. Okay? So if it's in the parentheses, you change it. On the end, you keep it. So let's see some examples. And then we're going to graph parabolas after we do that. So first example, y equals parentheses x plus 1 squared minus 1. It's in vertex form because you see a parentheses with a square. So if you see parentheses with a square and then a number after it, then you know it's in vertex form. This one does not have an a, so that means it's understood that this a is a positive 1. So if a, when I say a, I'm talking about ax squared plus bx plus c. So if a is a positive 1, do you think this is going to be a U-shaped parabola or upside down U-shaped parabola?
U-shaped parabola.
A regular U-shape. That means the vertex, is it going to be a maximum or a minimum?
Minimum.
A minimum. Very good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to look at this equation and we're going to pick out the x and the y. Okay? So to get your x value for your vertex, you look at this number in here with the x and you change the sign. So our x value will be a negative 1. You change the sign of the 1 in the parentheses with the x. That's your x value. Your y value is the same thing as that last number. So our y value is also negative 1. The one on the inside, you change it. The one on the outside, you keep it. Inside, you change. Outside, you keep it. Okay? And they're in order, x and y. We ain't flipping nothing. We're changing and we're keeping.
We're changing and keeping.
We're changing and keeping. Yeah. All right. So there's my vertex. All right. So we're kind of doing it backwards. So this time we're finding vertex and then axis of symmetry. Right? So remember yesterday we found axis of symmetry, which is our x value first, which is our vertical line. So what do you think is our vertical line that goes halfway through this parabola? X equals negative 1. So whatever the x value is inside the parentheses, your x value is your AOS. So after you get all that, after you looked at it and picked out your vertex and your axis of symmetry, you're ready to graph it. So draw yourself an x and y axis. We said the vertex is going to be a minimum, so I don't have to go any lower than the point negative 1, negative 1. And my axis of symmetry is x equals negative 1, a vertical line. So how many points did Miss Isbell say you had to graph to make a parabola? 3. And the vertex is our first point. And the rest of it's going to be just like yesterday. Okay? So what you're going to do now is you're going to pick an x value that's close to your axis of symmetry to let x equal, plug that in, and get your y value. So what number do y'all want to pick that's close to -1?
0.
I want to pick 0 too. So let x equal 0. And we're going to plug that in for x in the original equation. Y equals parentheses 0 plus 1 squared minus 1. So where they had an x right there, I'm plugging in that 0. Now guys, order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Parentheses, then exponent, and then you add or subtract. So what is 0 plus 1? What is 1 squared? And 1 minus 1 equals what? 0. So the point 0, 0 is on our parabola. So graph the point 0, 0. There it is. And how many spaces away is that from the axis of symmetry? So you go 1 space in the other direction and put in that third point. And after you have 3 points, graph your U, put arrows on it, and you're done. And if they ask you if a vertex is a maximum or minimum, you can answer it. This vertex is a what? A minimum. So once you get the hang of vertex form, I really think it's so easy because you can look at the equation, pick out the vertex, pick out the axis of symmetry, and then you graph it. So in standard form, you had to find the axis of symmetry and vertex yourself using the formula. Okay? This is quicker when they give you it vertex form. If they don't put it in vertex form, then it's quicker to do it the other way. All right, let's do another one. You're just stretching? Okay. Let's do this one. Y equals 2 parentheses x minus 1 squared minus 2. This one just looks slightly different because they gave us an A term. Remember, a number bigger than 1 makes the parabola more skinny, stretches it out. Well, is this going to be a U-shaped parabola or upside down U-shaped parabola? What makes it upside down or regular? It's a minimum because this is a positive number, making it a U-shape, not upside down. So if it's a positive number, it's a U-shape. If it's negative, and then it's upside down. Okay? So let's pick out the vertex. See if y'all can help me with that. Where's the x value? Inside the parentheses, but we have to do what to it?
Change it.
Change the sign. So the one on the inside would change it. So that's going to be a positive 1. And what's the y value? -2. You keep the outside. Change the inside, keep the outside, and they're in order x, then y. So any questions about how we picked out the vertex? All right, y'all tell me what the AOS is.
1.
X equals 1. Vertical line, x equals 1. So let's graph what we know so far. All right, so we already know this is going to be a minimum vertex. So we're not going to go any lower than the point 1, -2. Because it's supposed to be a U-shape, not an upside-down U-shape. So use what you know about the quadratic to help you decide about your graph. Because if I think this is going to be the maximum, I'm not going to draw all this stuff up top, am I? No, I'm not going to waste my paper like that. Okay, so y'all tell me an x value that is close to 1. That's easy to work with. 0.
2.
Now, when you plug in 0, don't forget that 2 out there. It's important. So we have y equals 2 parentheses 0 minus 1 squared minus 2. Now we got to correctly follow the order of operations. Huh? What is 0 minus 1? Okay, so 2 times negative 1 squared minus 2. Then what do? Exponent before you multiply. If you multiply and then you do the exponent, you're going to get it wrong. So what is negative 1 squared?
1.
Positive 1. 2 times 1 is what?
2.
2. And 2 minus 2 equals 0. Now, they're not always going to be through 0, 0. These two just happen to have been. So graph 0, 0. How many spaces away is that from the axis of symmetry? 1. So you go 1 space in the other direction. And then you make a U. And then you put arrows on it. And there's your parabola. Is that vertex a maximum or a minimum? A minimum, just in case they ask. Well, it's not exactly the same. The vertex is in a different point. So it's very important that we know our order of operations here. That's why they spent so much time since 3rd grade teaching them to you. Okay. All right, can I scroll to the next problem? All right, after this one is going to be a U try. So y equals negative parentheses x plus 2 squared plus 3. Tell me something you know about what this parabola is going to be. It's upside down, so the vertex will be a maximum. Very good. So the vertex will be the highest point on the parabola. All right, I'm going to see if y'all can correctly tell me the vertex. What's the vertex? Negative 2, positive 3. Change the inside, keep the outside. Did y'all get negative 2, 3? So what's my AOS? X equals what?
3.
That's not X, that's Y. Yeah. X is going to equal the X value. All right. Then you graph. And this one's going to be a maximum, so that's going to be the highest point. Negative 2, 3 will be. So negative 2 is on the x-axis. And I go left 2, up 3. And there's my vertex. It's a maximum. Y'all give me an X. Y'all want to try? You could use negative 1, but I might mess that up because I mess up with negative sometimes. I'm going to use 0. Just see what happens. Let X equal 0. And y'all be careful when you're plugging that in right there, because that negative in the front means negative 1 times 0. Okay, so if you need to stick a 1 there to make you know that's negative 1 times that, please do so that you won't miss it. So order of operation, what do I do first? Parentheses, what's 0 plus 2? So negative 1 times 3. Then what do I do? 2 squared is what? 4. And what's negative 1 times 4? Negative 4 plus 3 equals what? Negative 1. So 0, negative 1 is a point on my parabola. And there it is. How many spaces away is that from my axis of symmetry? 2. So I have to go 2 spaces the other direction. And then you graph it, and it should be upside down. So if it has a negative a term, you're upside down. Positive a term, it's a u. Okay? Negative a term, upside down. Positive a term is a u. I want you guys to try one on your own. Y equals 2 times x minus 2 squared plus 1. Do the same thing. Pick out your vertex, pick out the axis symmetry, graph it, pick a next value, plug it in, graph the next 2 points. All right, check it with somebody if you're done. All right, I want everybody out loud to tell me what the vertex is. It's what? 2-1. Raise your hand if you got 2-1 for the vertex. Congratulations, you got the vertex correct. So, what's your axis of symmetry? X equals 2, right? And we can graph those, can't we? Yeah. So, we graph it. Is this one going to be a U-shaped graph or an upside-down U-shaped graph? Yeah. So we know that 2-1 is going to be the lowest point on there, right? Right there. It's my lowest point. So maybe I've given myself enough room up there. Okay. So after you do here, you pick an X. 1 or 0. Don't do 0. 8 plus 1. Yeah, it's like 7, isn't it? I picked 1 when I did it earlier today. Yeah, if you do 0, you'll use 9, and I didn't go that high. So I'm going to let X equal 1. If you use 0, did y'all get 9? And y'all graphed it anyway? Because y'all are awesome kids. I'm going to use let X equal 1. But I promise I already did that on my papers. You writing Lex for Lexi? I do too. So if I let X equal 1, that means everywhere there's an X, I put a 1. So 2 times 1 minus 2 squared plus 1. Be careful with your order of operations. Parentheses first. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. And 2 plus 3 is 2 times 1 is 2 plus, why am I saying that? Plus 1 is 3. That's what I did, right? So did y'all get 1, 3 if you did 1? So 1, 3 is right here. And I'm 1 space away, so I go 1 space over here. So if you did 0, you're like touching the x-axis like way up high, right? That's the crookedest you ever. So anyway, your graph looks similar to mine, doesn't it? It's going to be long and skinny because that 2 in front of it makes it skinny. And this vertex is a what? Minimum. I have a question. Your homework. You have 3 problems that I just picked out that gives you an equation like this. And it says, tell whether the vertex is a maximum or a minimum, then find the maximum or the minimum.
Just 3?
Okay, is it a maximum or a minimum? It's a minimum, right? Because we said it's a U-shaped graph. Guess what the minimum value is? The y value of the vertex. So, which is also the k value of the equation. So you will look at it. If this is positive, it's minimum. Negative, it's maximum. And then the number right here. Yep. So can y'all do 3 problems like that? No, you got some more to these to do too.
2 more.
Well, we have 1 more to do, and that is intercept form. And it's really easy. I think it's easy. But anyway. Example D is intercept form. This is so easy. You know you have intercept form when you have 2 parentheses. So vertex form, remember we had 1 parentheses with a square, right? Intercept form, we got 2 parentheses. We could, but we're not going to. It's easier than that. But he is right. You could FOIL this, and then you could have a standard form equation and find the AOS and the vertex that way. Right? Yeah. But you can actually graph it using intercept form because these are telling you what the x-intercepts are. And an x-intercept of a graph is where the graph does what? Crosses the x-axis, right? Now, and I told you a while ago, if it's in the parentheses, we do what to it? Change the sign. Okay? So these are both in parentheses. So my x-intercepts are 2 and -4. So I'm crossing the x-axis at +2 and -4. In the parentheses, you change the sign. Okay? So that means the point 2, 0 is part of my parabola, and -4, 0 is part of my parabola. Now, I don't have a negative a term out here. It's positives. So if I don't have a negative number floating out there in front, I assume it's a U shape. So what you're going to do is you are going to graph those 2 points. 2 zeros right here. -4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is down here. Now your vertex should be halfway between these 2 points, but either down lower or up high. Now we said this is a U shape, so do you think the vertex is going to be down low or up high? Low, because the vertex will be a minimum. So to get your AOS, your axis of symmetry, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take these 2 numbers for your x values, and you're going to average them. So x is going to be 2 plus -4 divided by 2, because it's going to be halfway. Okay, your axis of symmetry is going to be halfway between those 2 points. So that's -2 over 2. So your axis of symmetry is going to be at -1. Okay, so to get your axis of symmetry, if it's an intercept form, you take the average of your 2 intercepts. So here it is, axis of symmetry. So how do we think we get the y value to get our vertex? How? Plug it in for the x's in the original problem. Or plug -1 in for your x's. So -1 minus 2 times -1 plus 4. So we do inside the parentheses, then we multiply the 2 numbers. So what's -1 minus 2? -3. What's -1 plus 4? 3. And I multiply them and get -9. So yeah, I got to go down lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here it is, way down here. And then you just make those 3 points into a U. Mine's really crooked. The bigger my graph is, the more trouble I have making it pretty. What? You can. Yeah. It's easier for me to do on paper than it is on my screen. So that's essentially intercept form. You take the 2 inside of the parentheses, write them as an ordered pair. Remember, you change the sign for your x's. Then you get the average of your x's for your axis of symmetry. Plug that number in for your x's in the original problem. Get your y's. Do inside the parentheses, multiply them together, and there's your y value. And then you graph the point, which was -1, -9. And there's your vertex, and then you should have 3 points. Okay, so that is intercept form. And that is the end of notes for today.